Now, the special session of the Parliament has commenced. It began early this morning amid speculations of a surprise move by the central government. Prime Minister Modi has hinted at that as well. A cabinet meeting will be taking place at 6:30 p.m. this evening to discuss and deliberate on the upcoming special Parliament session that will go on for the next 4 days, where the bills that will be introduced will all be deliberated on. Ahead of the session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged all the members of the Parliament to dedicate the maximum time to this short but historic session. Tentative list of the agenda for the special session includes 8 bills, but the highly debated one, which is the One Nation, One Election bill, was not included in the lineup. Now, meanwhile, India Bloc held a meeting with the Congress chief, Mallikarjun Kharge, at his chambers in the Parliament to strategize for the upcoming session. The Congress has made a strong pitch here for bringing the passing of Women's Reservation Bill in the 5-day Parliament session.
संसद का ये सत्र, इस पार्श्वभूमि में संसद का ये सत्र, ये सही है कि सत्र छोटा है, लेकिन समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है। ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है। ये सत्र की एक विशेषता ये तो है कि आप 75 साल की यात्रा हम नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही है। जिस मुकाम पर 75 साल की यात्रा की, वो अत्यंत प्रेरक पल, और अब नए स्थान पर उस यात्रा को आगे बढ़ाते समय नए संकल्प, नई ऊर्जा, नया विश्वास और समय सीमा में 2047 में इस देश को डेवलप कंट्री बना करके रहना है।
महिला रिजर्वेशन का बिल आना चाहिए और महिलाओं को देना चाहिए जो ड्यू है। नेहरू जी के प्रधानमंत्री काल में पहली लोकसभा में केवल वो भी 5% सांसद महिलाएं थी, लेकिन 70 साल के बाद भी आज 14, 15, 10 के अंदर ही है। तो इसीलिए मैं आपसे गुजारिश करूंगा कि इस महिलाओं का जो बिल है, इसको आप ये कर दीजिए।
स्पेशल सेशन संसद के स्पेशल मौकों के लिए बुलाए जाते हैं। अभी तक पता नहीं है कि नया मसौदा क्या है। महिला आरक्षण बिल जिंदाबाद, ये देर से आया हुआ फैसला है। यद्यपि हम कोटे के अंदर जो वीकर सेक्शन की महिलाएं हैं, बैकवर्ड कास्ट की और शेड्यूल कास्ट की, उनका भी कोटा चाहते हैं।
देखिए, महिला आरक्षण बिल के साथ बहुत सारे ऐतिहासिक पुरुषों, जिनमें राजीव गांधी जी हैं, उनका नाम जुड़ा हुआ है, भुला नहीं सकते उनके कंट्रीब्यूशन को उस दिशा में जो है। इसलिए भाजपा जिस तरीके से अब हमारे देश के विकास के पुराने इतिहास को नकारने में लगी हुई है, तो हमको डर है कि ऐसा न करे।
All right, I'm cutting across to Mausami, joining us live for more on that. Mausami, we know the Prime Minister, right before the special session started and when they were recounting all the best and the worst, bittersweet memories within the old Parliament building, you also had the Prime Minister suggest that there are going to be some historic decisions that will be taken in this special Parliament session the next 4 days. Is there any buzz on what it could be? 8 bills have already been mentioned as part of their agenda, but it seems like there's another big surprise that may crop up.
Nabila, you're right when you say that there could be another surprise that could crop up and the government has something up its sleeves. But it's not really clear what. We could only, there is a lot of speculation as far as, There could be probably the women's reservation bill could come up, or something on one nation, one election, or something related to the OBC reservation OBC bill could also come up. But because the Rohini Commission has also submitted its report to the President of India. So we are not really clear because there have been no clear indications from the government, or none of the ministers have answered that question. In fact, on the women reservation bill, Prahlad Joshi said that when the opposition pressed for its demand for the women reservation bill to be brought yesterday, he said at an appropriate time. But there's been no denial of that. So the most speculated is that women reservation bill, which could be a shot in the arm for the BJP in the upcoming assembly elections. There's a high probability that it could be brought, but today's cabinet, perhaps we are told, is also more to discuss how discuss about the inauguration of a formal inauguration when all the MPs enter to conduct business in the new building tomorrow. Whether the women reservation bill is also discussed and the cabinet approves that, we'll have to wait till 6:30 for that.
Right. And since you rightly brought that up, cabinet meeting now has been called in by the BJP. The centre has asked their ministers to be in attendance all at 6:30 p.m. this evening. You mentioned that this could be about coordinating well for transition from the old parliament building to the new. But what more do we know of the actual agenda of this cabinet meeting, a special cabinet meeting that's held this evening, Mausami?
Well, Nabila, of course, it will be discussed. What's the schedule for tomorrow? We do believe that there is a photo session that's slated to happen tomorrow about at 12:30. Before that, 11 o'clock, perhaps the MPs would enter the new building. And then there could be there is a formal Sabha that's been called upon. So after that, the photo session of all MPs all the MPs have been informed that there is a photo session. And in between all this, all the opposition MPs, several parties have issued 3-line whips for all MPs to be there, because tomorrow being a historic day and a new page in the history of Indian politics being added. You can see behind me, this is the old building. 73 years of history scripted in this old building.
Yeah.
It's witnessed India pass on from one decade to another, leaving the past behind, moving into the future, till also witnessing that how India actually has landed on the moon. So today was a celebration of sorts when all the MPs discussed 75 years of
and we saw the interesting play of words on both sides, Mausami, be it the Prime Minister or the opposition's Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Mallikarjun Kharge, while remembering all the bittersweet moments, ensured pot shots at one another at the same time. So it's going to be, of course, historic, undoubtedly, this transition from the old Parliament building to the new. All of that is going to take place tomorrow morning, right after Ganesh Utsav celebration. There's going to be a puja, and then this move will take place. This transition itself will take place. But ahead of this 5-day long special session, Prime Minister Modi, who addressed the Parliament right outside the Parliament building, he spoke to the media briefly, and in a taunt to the opposition parties, Prime Minister Modi said the opposition parties should really get over with all their rona dhona, and it's about time that they get to work, emphasizing that this is a short, yet an important Parliament session. Modi says, or rather hinted at, a probable historic decision that's likely to be taken in the special Parliament session the next 4 days. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi's comments haven't really gone down well with the opposition parties as they've reacted sharply. In fact, earlier during this address in the Parliament, Prime Minister Modi took a jibe at the infamous incidents that's happened under the UPA rule. Let's have a quick listen to all the jibes that were taken back and forth.
अनेक प्रकार से महत्वपूर्ण ये सत्र है। मैं सभी आदरणीय सांसदों से आग्रह करता हूं कि छोटा सत्र है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा समय उनका मिले, उमंग और उत्साह के वातावरण में मिले। रोने धोने के लिए बहुत समय होता है, करते रहिए,
इसी सदन ने इमरजेंसी में लोकतंत्र पर होता हुआ हमला भी देखा था और इसी सदन ने भारत के लोगों की ताकत को एहसास कराते हुए मजबूत लोकतंत्र की वापसी भी इसी सदन ने देखी थी। इसी सदन में मनमोहन जी की सरकार कैश फॉर वोट को भी, उस कांड को भी सदन ने देखा है। कुछ कड़वी यादें वो भी हैं कि तेलंगाना के हक को दबोचने के लिए भारी प्रयास हुए, खून की नदियां भी बही और बनने के बाद न तेलंगाना उत्सव मना पाया न आंध्र उत्सव मना पाया। एक कटुता के बीज बो दिए गए। अच्छा होता उसी उमंग और उत्साह के साथ हम तेलंगाना का निर्माण करते तो एक नई ऊंचाई पर आज तेलंगाना पहुंच चुका होता।
मैं समझता हूं आजादी के बाद सबसे ज्यादा रोने धोने वाले प्रधानमंत्री अगर कोई है तो नरेंद्र मोदी जी हैं। उससे ज्यादा किसी ने रोया धोया हो आज तक तो बता दीजिए। हर बात पे रोते हैं, नोटबंदी करेंगे आप परेशान हो जाइए, मर जाइए, फिर रोने आ जाएंगे। कोरोना की महामारी होगी, लाखों लोग मर जाएंगे, फिर रोने आ जाएंगे। इसरो के वैज्ञानिक कुछ करेंगे तो उस पर रोने, मतलब हर चीज में उनको रोना है।
I'm not cribbing. Did you hear me cribbing? I'm happy the session is there. I hope we can deliver and do something good for the country.
Right, Mausami still with us. Mausami, tell us on the jibes that were taken at one another. Prime Minister Modi spoke about, and of course, remembered good memories of all the years of the Congress, right from the times of Nehru, and also the bitter moments as he took jibes at the Congress, and same with Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary and Mallikarjun Kharge. So it was in a way a political speech on both ends, even as they remembered the legendary Parliament building as they transitioned to the new.
Absolutely, Nabila. We saw the Prime Minister even say that, the Parliament shed tears when former Prime Minister Nehru and Lal Bahadur Shastri passed away during their tenure. And on that note, we saw how Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary spoke about, the decorum and the procedures of the House during Nehru's time, and how, the Speaker would even ring the bell when Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was speaking, that to indicate his time was up. So thereby, Adhir taking a dig at the government on the other hand, saying that, the norms and traditions of the Temple of Democracy say that in the Temple of Democracy, it is the Speaker who holds the reins of the House and how the House should function, and nobody is above the procedures of the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha for that matter. And simultaneously, it's very interesting where how Mallikarjun Kharge also went on to elaborate and specifically point out the contribution of the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. So very interesting scenes there we saw, but I can tell you that a departure from the previous monsoon session, Nabila, where we saw a lot of political barbs being traded between both sides and a lot of aggression. This time round, the start has been quite mellow if you compare it to the previous one.
All right. Thank you very much, Mausami, for joining us on that. Now, what we know is that there was a lot said by the Prime Minister himself, and one of his comments hasn't gone down well with Telangana Chief Minister KCR.